Would you just look at these poor dopes, crashing their minds together, getting concussions, breaking bones, busting balls, winding up train wrecked in the hospital, all for what? Have you ever wondered this question? You see, I live in the South, where the lonesome hills loom dark and there ain't much to do, but meander about and look for trouble. So everybody seems to have found a solution to their boredom. Get a bunch of boys and bash in their brains, drink beer, eat beef, get drunk and leak on the ground. Pretend you can still get it up with all that booze and junk in your tank. So the old men try to laugh through the pain. They send their sons off to war, this battle for the grass. They tear down the goalposts like a raging mob, casting them into the Tennessee River. What on any other day or any other color would be a crime? But the night is young and they need something, anything, anyone, any place, any post, anything at all, please, dear Lord, to kill. Inheriting a torn up land, here we are, this new group of young folk, waltzing around the stumps and old logs, trash piled high, up to the sky, frogs croaking sad deep in polluted bogs, smoke steaming out from some hole. See that young girl dancing on a pole. The trolls are coming to tear off her face, so come take my hand, my love. Let's get the hell away from this place. But our legs move slow, our dreams won't grow. Nightmare thoughts from bleeding brains flow, and damn it, there's just nowhere to go. I would help myself if I were but allowed. I would plow up the graveyards into orchards. I would plant potatoes upon the town square, but I have a suspicion you would tear them up. I would build a house, perhaps here or there, but I haven't the money, or so you say. So you say, go sit and wait for your turn to serve the high and the mighty masters of wealth. But I never was too good at all that, so I suppose I shall have to be lazy. Do you really own anything? Even this body of bones and breath, eventually snatched from your hands by death? With a bellowing laugh, your cares and oh so serious obsessions churn to dust. Trust me, my friend, it is all an illusion. So come along, and arm in arm, we will charm the gods and goddesses of dawn, to transcend their secrets, to wander abroad or paddle this raft, to outskirt ends of the here and the now. Just glance up ahead, turn side to side, ride down this current 1,000,000 years an hour. Come on, don't you cower in the corner. Just look at what we came from and see what we are. Don't spar with forces of vain fantasy, but just see here and now this beautiful reality. Flowers bending and building to the sky. Trees growing high and forgetting themselves, only instinct all the time in the world, to take in this marvelous breath of life and tough nature love, and let it out to wander the rocks, crashing wild coastal shores, and true liberty of lava, dripping fire, cutting communal mind. Where have they gone, these children of ours, these beautiful young people who had trusted in us for so long? Don't you remember their shining faces as they shuffled the hallways of the local school? We told them that they could be anything. We said they could go anywhere. I think we really hoped it was so, but all they received was an early annihilation. Their cultivated dreams left to dry and to crack on the stone ground. Their blood left cry out sad and alone. Now just a statistical number on a screen. This was that became of their American dream. So count me out, America. If this is what you make of your children, then how can you be trusted? I think you've gone crazy. It's hard to believe you anymore. It is hard to have faith in your intentions. You were a fun, naughty friend in my youth, but now I am a man with better things to do. I always kind of liked that name, Newport. Digs up old memories of Rhode Island. My Uncle Martin rolling handmade cigarettes and puffing away the evening in his car as he talks with my father. Me, my teenage self, sitting quietly in the back. So when you asked for Marlboros, I said to myself no. So I walked into the grocery store and bought you a pack of Newport Reds, non-menthol. They say only black folks smoke this brand. But why not get the best bang for your buck? They have more nicotine than any other. My wife Amy says I'm only helping to destroy you. But this is what you asked for. At least for the most part. And though you are a washed-up, crack-toothed homeless girl, once you were but a happy little girl. Your mother's pride and joy, probably. Laughing wide-eyed on the school playground. So take some comfort, my dear. I am here for you, your willing servant. Take all that you need and find some rest tonight. You just so happen to be everything, and I alone adrift from shore. I just so happen to be nothing. You a footprint upon some floor. Where once you walked is now but dust, and here, sent bobbing amidst tall waves, to thrash tired hands through specks of rust. We both now know the blood life craves, and ours, young lovers, it must be us, a sacrifice upon the altar of caring. At least it won't be said we weren't daring. I guess it all started with a feeling. Where am I? What is all this? I feel like I am suffocating. Have I been here before, in this white and gray and blue place, with doctors and sterilized surfaces and oxygen tents and tanks? There is something wrong with me, I can feel it. But there, against the cold, clean harshness is a warm outline. My father. I recognize him immediately. It's nice and comforting to catch a glimpse of a familiar face. I don't know if I'm scared or not. Maybe I am. I stay here for some time and then I get to go home, stepping out of the hospital. Finally, one of the doctors figured out how to deal with me. Another familiar old friend, the hot South Florida sun, pouring down onto my skin. It soaks it up readily after all those days inside. Then a playground made of wood and flat, steaming metal sliding down onto the gravel. A few feet distant are palmettos and pines. Strange birds singing joyous at the tops. These thick, smoggy days of everyday summer. My grandfather's swimming pool, screened in down by the dugout canal. Avocado tree swaying in the breeze, flying in cool off the ocean. The fall is here, lizards perch upon the lawn chairs waiting to reach and catch a meal. Fish swim up to the concrete dock. Exotic looking, perhaps some invasive species. Snakes and alligators churning water. Just over there, won't you take a look? But then, these days, they turn to snow, with mountain brooding distant white. Something in the air has changed. Suddenly here I am in some deep green tree. It smells just like Christmas here in this haven. I climb higher and higher through thick branches. My face scratches against the boughs. Finally, at the top, and look out at high, distant hills, snow-capped majestic vista. We are traveling up to Pikes Peak today, up and over and onward until finally I sit on cold concrete next to my mom, sipping some sweet hot chocolate, and feeling out of breath in the crisp altitude, crystals of exhaled breath. Then suddenly it seems that I am somewhere else, down some green springtime country road. We have come to eastern Tennessee. I suppose my father didn't much care for the altitude in Colorado. It is a pink house here, a duplex. I ride a plastic motorcycle toy down the hot, long driveway. Not a worry in this world. As evening approaches, the family walks down to where the road ends, and the brown horses graze from the rich green grass. Facing the world as though blind, we often long in our own private spaces of limited horizons and tired imagination traces for a more broad scope of ways to be, to see through other eyes the magic of a tree, fruit of knowledge of another land, smirk like a child and reject the hand that has been dealt. But the blind are as wise as one could ever hope. They see with their senses beyond all scope, which the humble eye could possess. Yes, let us look out like they, with new power, to behold all the land from their tall tower of scents smoking soft on an autumn morning, or touch of a warm wool sweater adorning the smooth, tender flesh of a wise old soul. These blind have honed a unique, precious skill, the thought to hold hands and not to kill. So gather their fingers within your palm, thoughts to be seeking and footsteps calm. No need to tread tracks with conquering gaze, but welcome a new phase of loving. I hid out in my mother's womb, curled up comfortable, away from the terrors of the world. This soft, warm haven from all that does not value me. I guess I had a need for some territory, but wasn't aware except on some unconscious level. When I became older and ventured out of my cave, I wandered the swampy forests of the night, camped on the edge of a Carolina wilderness, my own new babies contented with ice cream, a hot summer's dusk with sunlight fading. We drove off to hide away from our hectic lives. Now out here the tops of the ancient trees sing. They scream with the noise of others who have come out of hiding. We shut up for just a moment and listen intently to these others who share our song of emergence in a sullen, swampy forest where emergence can be without all those computerized crowds. This crowd may also be thirsty for blood, but at least it's a blood that flows free. Whether you be good or bad, whether you be mad or happy, look here and listen, my little lad. Your life is bound to be trappy. For whatever horizon to your fate doth send, we all wind up within some prison in the end. Walking the hospital halls, it may sound odd to some, but I rather like the hospital. Just as long as I ain't the one laid up in it. Just walking white hallways on a rainy day, exploring the caverns of life and death on a Sunday afternoon. There aren't many here, excepting the desperately ill and their caretakers. The doctors have all gone to the lake to fish, the office staff to their chip-stained couches. Smoking to live. Most folks say that people smoke stuff to die. sucking on chemical tar in the corner or on the patio. Faces stained, dark and lonely. Tired old voices stretched hoarse and faint. Cancer clouds looming gray and heavy. But me, I believe these folks smoke to live. Attempts to blow air and fresh scent to the dead of their dreams where heroes lie. The lying dead heroes like Bogart and Dean, perhaps Sigmund Freud or Marx or Che. Their memories fading away underground, in need of fresh smoke to animate clouds. Swirl them on up into hallucination, for that is where precious hopes are hidden. Coming to terms with wilderness, there is but little limit to all that the person can do who has come to terms with wilderness. As much as we pray and hope that the Walmart sign, standing hung high like a warm beacon in the night, will save us from encroaching wilderness. At end of times, wilderness shall all of us find and seek out and poke and prod onward away from what we thought was so important, from what we really thought would always involve us. Wilderness could care less about those games you play. But if one has gumption enough to look straight in her slanted eyes and accept her all-encompassing power, that person is truly free. Free to roam and free to wander, not tied down by watches, phones, and time. They got back to a better state of mind. Spreading mythologies, the neighborhood in which I exist is a shadowy place, a place in which lies are spread like disease, dishonesty so thick it bounces off walls, old red brick where the black widows lay in wait for another unsuspecting fool to fall within her web. We have been here several days now in Wisconsin. It is cool and mostly clear and yet somehow a bit smoggy. The trees are beautiful along with the flowers, biggest sunflowers we have ever seen. Most perfect looking wild apples, so many apples they could never all be eaten. Hanging low from glistening branches. Went for a walk with Eric yesterday evening, while Melody was in the emergency room fixing her painful abscessed gum. We found some soggy ski trail, green and overgrown, neglected since last winter. It meandered off into deep forest with signs on the trees, birch bark curling down from the sides. Coming around a bend, I suddenly came upon a buck with pointing, proud antlers. We exchanged a quick glance and then he bolted across the grass. I like Duluth, Minnesota. It's the San Francisco of the North. From a windy mountain drive, you can gaze down and wonder at the wide water below. Cool, crisp breeze blowing in off Superior. Watch as the sailboats glide along, or walk a sandy beach where ladybugs crawl the dunes. Seagulls squawking overhead, along with the cute little airplanes. Sun shining down at 65 degrees, then across the large metal bridge that rises for passing ships. Watching the massive waves below, smell of frying hush puppies. Wafting from the local marina restaurant. Stand by the historic lighthouse. Walls of water crashing on concrete, or the massive old metal ship rudder. This place has so many stories in the wind. For many long months I've stood here with every thought I held so dear, and yes, my eye once held a tear for thee. And when the waves did crash with gales, a wicked wind did catch your sails, and now I am so blind and frail with rage I cannot see. Rage at every misty rise, sadness at the salt disguise. For now the gull flies up and cries, "Oh, curse this vanity, vanity of each youthful dream, a love not that which once it seemed. My vision now the sea does deem, a flower not meant to be. And whilst others the dunes adorn, for within the earth now mine is torn, cruel birds to come cackle and scorn my youthful heart's decree that every lover be loved, that every sun may shine above, and every child be given enough upon a new morning free. Who were you? I know you were someone. Who could you be? I traveled to see you there deep inside. Your mother, my wife, the giver of life. I know you were there, somewhere. I could sense that something new was afoot. For life is the glue that turns this dark soot into smiles. Yes, I smiled when I thought of you. But where have you gone? Seems that you couldn't stick around to be found by my side, walking along in this place, this space, these forests and clouds to behold your sweet face. But I guess I'll keep going and moving along, heading in directions right and wrong, with all that you offered in my memory, for you really meant something to me. We are all food. When you left your quiet bed today, I'll bet you wanted to stay in that hay, to dream away the morning hours, take a rustling asthmatic breath of humid autumn flowers. Yet up you got and out you must go, over and onwards to the traffic flow. We all have seeds to sow, gathered breakfast from some sad cafe. You think, wait, what am I doing? Head for some park. That will be your undoing. And as you pass beneath the branches, forest aflame, which wild things grew, you remember we're all food too. I sometimes talk too much, tell people too much about what's happening in my mind. This can be dangerous, certainly for somebody who values facts over fantasy, reality over blissful illusion. I've come to realize that people do not like the truth, for the truth is too painful. When some blabbermouth comes around spouting the truth all over the place, like vomit, they become agitated. Stop effing around with our myth. It's better to just keep your thoughts to yourself. A person who talks too much is like some bar or band that everyone gets sick of hearing night after night. That is why bands go out on tour. Their hometown gets sick and tired of them and sends them away. That's what happened to me. My hometown had had enough of me and they needed a break. Maybe I needed a break too. Never pray your youth to pass, for pass soon enough it shall, to be certain. Careful not to clutch toward tomorrow's brass, for impatience is a sin not often forgiven by nature and life and its laws in general, for love and her lazy roll. Within waves of the poem, the children walk, arranging all the colors through tips of chalk, transforming exotic creatures from cold gray cement, displaying loving features, no more to lament the weakening cold shrieking of winter. The mark of the musician is hairy and long, a line that runs beyond the hills and rages with a rising dawn, recognizing instantly that laugh which separates these kinds of lovers from all others. A kind of gait not wandering straight, but unsteady off to who knows where, while all the wannabe dreamers stare as they glance up from their computer machines. The musician looks down at another machine, forged from wood or twisted metals, recreating noises drifting from ancient forests. Everyone must drift sometime. The mark of the musician is hairy and long, a line that runs beyond the hills and rages with a rising dawn, recognizing instantly that laugh which separates these kinds of lovers from all others. A kind of gait not wandering straight, but unsteady off to who knows where, while all the wannabe dreamers stare as they glance up from their computer machines. The musician looks down at another machine, forged from wood or twisted metals, recreating noises drifting from ancient forests. Everyone must drift sometime. It is a clear and a sunny Sunday afternoon, feeling sleepy, half stoned on chamomile. First really warm day in some time. Seagulls and peepers screaming. I reckon we made it through winter. No more snow blowing all around. We bounce up and down on the well-worn playground, where Melody excitedly shows us the sights. This is her school where she goes each day. But just then I look distant at brick buildings of the local hospital, shining reddish under a dry blue sun. Tallest building in town. I imagine that they are some far-off ancient rock formations. Then suddenly we set off on a walk over to them, hiking through this desert to see the rocks, see what mysteries are waiting to behold, across the dead street and through the parking lot, destination distant, creeping closer and closer, until finally we arrive and make our way around. This hike is a loop that winds its way around, bound to no place but the place from where we came, passing beneath shadows of ancient singing cliffs, this small town so silent even here, then back over yonder to our vehicle where the migratory gulls have arrived to squawk. Shuffling along down by the lake, nothing much else to do but this new hunting path, where the trappers come to gather the beavers, who munch away the corners of the trees. We pass along the sand under an old bridge, dark beneath like a cave, and an old message scratched into the concrete. Beware of the parasites that dig into your skin. If you are homeless, find someplace else. I carry an old bicycle wheel out from the water. A mirror reflects only half the man at any given time, and the poem only half the rhyme. But perhaps when together, mixed in a bowl, the swirling, the soup makes whole and wholesome. When the idea came to them to escape their neighborhood of disappointed hopes and dreams, the ghetto of buried, bustling American potential, the family went with it. The first instinct of it, almost like a child at the afternoon dessert buffet at the restaurant in town, tempted by the sweetness of it, or like the old folks at the same restaurant who sit together in the smoking section, inhaling death into their lungs for the sheer adventure of it. The winter has almost taken the family. Those long, cold, dark months had damn near done them in. The father especially had almost cracked with it, the pressure of it all. More than once he had almost taken off in the middle of those long, dark nights, never to be seen or heard from again. And yet ultimately he had stayed. He awakened into a sense of self, beginning anew with a morning surprise. Sun spilling through the dangling crystal his wife had purchased on the internet, scattering little beams all about the room. The air had changed. Something was missing. The heat. It was the heat that had left, conquered during the sleeping hours by the forces of the cold wind breathing across the lake. The man glanced out the window, off toward the stirring water. So recently it had been ice. It had a different character then, reclusive and moody. Now it breathed the soft, cool breath that welcomed all to it, a comfort from the burning July sun, that angry old sun. It had been sending out grouchy beams of hot, sticky malice for some weeks now. A few folks had even died. An older man who had been working on a rooftop all afternoon had forgotten to take a break. It just wasn't in his bones to rest when there was work to be done. He had come from a different era when taking a break was only for a woman. He cursed the sun, and it cursed him back until, drenched in sweat, he just fell right off that roof and into a bush. An ambulance came, and the man was never seen or heard from again, replaced the very next morning by another eager young face. But back to our new man. He put on some light clothes and headed downstairs. where his smiling wife met him with juice and fruit and a merry greeting. The man sat quietly eating his breakfast as he stared into the white paint of the wall. "What are you staring at?" his wife asked. "Oh, nothing." The two soon found themselves out in the family car. The music of labor hums in a rhythm of autumn as leaves blow down from branches and rain hangs heavy, humid in the air like trying to breathe a sauna misty afternoon bath. The white dog watches and whines with concern for those who insist upon working too hard. A butterfly drifts and moves with a warning of winter as the beats peek up from the promise of food. We got the dog for $40, met him in the parking lot by the grocery store, where I went in later and got a no-good slimy salad. His owners called him Rambo, solid and tank-like with a bark that bit the dark autumn air. The other dog, Moose, didn't like him much, but bit him on the paw and made him squeal like a stuck pig. "Be good, Rambo," the owners screamed from the safety of their car. They seemed happy to be rid of him. He pulled so hard it felt like the leash was attached to a truck. We somehow got him home and put him in the old moldy room downstairs. He didn't seem to sleep, always on alert, looking for something to be done, a job of work to do. He's gotten a lot better since then. Except the other day he chased a little kid in their remote control car by the library, and he took it up in his massive jaws and flung it to the sky. That poor kid. I told their parents that he wasn't my dog, but my friends, and that he had escaped. They didn't look like they believed me. I took his fluffy butt right back to my car and attempted to knock some sense into him. But my hand bounced off him like it was a ball against concrete. And now I walk around the yard at my father-in-law's place out here in the countryside. The sun has gone down and the moon has risen up all aglow. He runs in ahead and then back beside me. I never have had a dog quite like this. I'm used to the stubborn snow dogs. This guy actually listens. His fur is brown and black like a grizzly bear or something. His paws are enormous and they leave great big gaping tracks in the mud. His eyes are deep and dark and penetrating. When people see him in town, they marvel at what he might be, a German shepherd perhaps. No, that simply couldn't be. He must be something else, like a giant wolf mixed with a grizzly bear, the slobbering terror of the town. Perhaps people leave us alone now. They love the snow dogs and they flock to pet them, but they seem less certain about this giant fellow. They come to pet him, but they eye him with caution. Is he friendly? Well, I don't know. That depends. I laugh and we walk on our way. Driving through Chicago, downtown on Christmas night, nearly 1 a.m, we almost froze in the freezing fog, but I finally made it through to Indiana, where the weather is warmer, and now to here, Windy City by the lake. An old black man stands shivering by the train with a blanket draped. He looked so neglected and alone, kinda how I felt in the fog back there. I squint and attempt to stay awake. These city roadways emptier than I have ever seen them before, and all these trips to Wisconsin and back again. And then just as my eye begins to droop, a massive metallic clink and sparks fly. I think, oh no, the bicycle has fallen off the back, but no, luckily it is just the metal tire cover on the camper, which has partially been shorn off and now dangled by a single bolt. The cold fog was so cold that it weakened the metal, so I pull off the highway into some gas station where we attempt multiple things to get it off, but we do not have the proper tools. So after a few hours sleep in the parking lot of the gas station, antique rocking chair tucked into the wet mud, we wake to find that we actually feel quite rested and positive, and luck has been kind to us. Our tire was not damaged, the cops didn't wake us up, and we just so happened to pull off right across the street from a tire shop. We get up and go over there, and we meet a nice little old man, an old-fashioned Chicagoan, willing to help out, not terrified of being sued. He jacked up our camper and cut off the broken metal piece sparks flying up past his face. We stepped back. He didn't bat an eye. He must have seen this kind of thing before. We offer him money, but he won't accept. It's Christmas, after all. Whatever things be beautiful and calm and loving and loyal and curious and cunning and comely and cuddly and laughing and looking and sharing and caring and leaping and doing and daring. These are the things and the people for me, for people are things as well. Seated and sewn down the sitting mother, whose hands work slowly late into night, all the way to dawn sometimes, threads of life weaving and knitting, making each pattern of life yours and mine, all together into quilts of loving to the max, then tossed into fire, soiled and worn from all those bold mornings. I once came up from the mountain way, where forgotten folks clutch rifles from back of closed doors, their smiling turned topsy from deep poverty. It was tough and rough to connect up there, the smoke of their fires drifting sour to stranger. No stock left to wager on the bed of new faces. Few places to stake out a corner of confidence, hearts kept locked tight, down far within breasts, only to peek up briefly in the back seat of cars where the young dare to love in the springtime light. Young folks are like that, they're not as uptight.